Alright, come on, let's do this. We was going last week, ain't it? Yeah, because we had the we had the Fortune and the Hammer.
Yep. Oh shoot, let me do this.
I heard it.
Now I'm gonna go home and just turn all that stuff up, and that's what I'm gonna do.
Girl, yes. You know, music is that relief.
It is a healer. Okay.
Good morning, everybody. Black Power. Get on up in the trap house. The trap house is open. The trap house is open. Okay. Black Power John. Who else in the house? Let us know. Comment. Say Black Power if you in the house. The Trappers, where y'all at? We was going for a minute. Now we back with the jump off. Y'all come on up in here. Come on up in here.
Like
Black Power
share.
Cameron. Black Power Valencia. Please make sure you put hashtag shared in the comments once you've shared the live stream. Let's go ahead and get this political education out to our brothers and sisters and everything all around the world. Y'all know Facebook, we trying to restrict our viewership and everything like that. So share on your timeline, share in your groups, share wherever you at, okay? Share it.
Black Power
share
Kindred.
it. Even share the link in your co-worker group trap. Group
Your group trap.
Group chat. Black Power, Alex. How you doing, comrade? I got into, like, me and one of my coworkers, we got into I'm gonna call it a nice nasty struggle in our group chat. But I think it was good because let me tell y'all real quick. Well, y'all come on in the room. Make sure y'all share. Welcome to the Revolutionary Book Trap with Chiefs Dia
And Chief Nyah.
Black Power Kimya, Black Power Ghazi. So, girl, let me tell y'all what happened.
Okay, there we go.
So, like, last week, I believe it was like the last day to register to vote here in the state of Georgia. So this dude gonna post in the group, right, talking about some, what did he say? He said, today is the last day to register to vote, so make sure y'all go get registered. And you know, when you have an iPhone, you have the capability of, like, putting a thumbs down on somebody's message or something like that. Black Power Comrade Robert. So I put a thumbs down on his message. So he sent a gift back, and it was like, what did it say? It was a meme of Nicki Minaj, and when she was confronting Miley Cyrus at the at the music awards, and it said, don't play with me or something like that. So I responded, you're playing yourself. And then it just kind of went from there. And then he was just like, he was saying something to the tune of, you know, well, we don't have the right to complain if we're not participating, if we're not using our voices and everything else like that. So, you know, I had to hit him with the facts, okay? And I let him know, I said, you know, because he referred to colonized people as minorities, and how if we don't vote, we're not using our power. The
illusion
that minorities in the United States don't understand that they hold the power in the electoral system. So I said, brother, these so-called minorities have only had the right to vote for what, the 50 plus past years? We, like, colonized people have just gained the right to vote. And I want to say almost 60, I want to say 56 years to be exact. And I said, what what kind of imaginary power are you referring to when we can sit here and say that, you know, African people and colonized people just got the right to vote like 56 years ago, and conditions for us in the United States of America have only worsened. Since then. So what kind of imaginary power what kind of imaginary power are you referring to? What are you speaking about?
It's the illusion of choice.
And he just started coming back with all of this, like subjective things like, well, we can't complain if we're not trying to change these things and all of those different kind of stuff like that. And I was like, brother, you have to speak to the reality, because pretty much everything that you're saying right now, I mean, like, the reality is disproving everything that you're saying right now. Everything. Because if we as so-called minorities had the power, do you think any of these pigs will be getting off for, the murdering of colonized people? Do you think that we would have the crisis of poverty and affordable housing that we're facing right now?
Housing crisis.
The housing crisis and things of that nature? Like, my brother, like, we have no power in this system. And then he tried to hit me with the fact that, well, you working at H&M and you don't be saying that when you have to tell these customers, when you have to ask them, how you doing? Would you like me to do this? Would you like me to do that? And I said, hold on, I'm going to stop you right there, because first of all, me working at H&M or any other place that a colonized person may have to work is only a means to an end. And all colonized people have to work in this capitalist system to make to survive. But don't get it twisted, because at the end of the day, I could be a motherfucking lawyer down to a motherfucking line cook in goddamn McDonald's. Mm-hmm. But that don't have nothing to do with me being a revolutionary, because everything that I do outside of coming into this capitalist institution is to tear this damn system down.
That's right.
And he said, you gotta try to fit sometime into the spectrum or something like that. I said, there is no playing two sides of the spectrum. Either you kissing ass and licking boots, or you on the grounds organizing to overturn this shit. So there's no in between. So I just had to let him know.
I'm surprised he didn't hit you with the "Our ancestors died."
No, he didn't. He didn't.
Oh, okay, because that's a popular one.
And then he tried to change his tune by saying like, well, maybe if we all just move, maybe we just all. Bitch, stop braiding your hair so tight. We ain't young no more. Our lines will go away back. Girl, stop being a hater. Anyways, so he was like, if we just get all of our people and move back to Africa, and I had to stop because I felt myself getting heated, and I didn't want to respond in some subjective way. So I was like, even if we did all pack up and move to Africa, that still does not Africa is currently colonized. So it would be no point for, even though that is the goal for us to return back to Africa, but we can't do that until we kick out the motherfucking imperialists that's in Africa. Exactly. And we have our own united socialist government in Africa. Even that's not a reality right now. So just like, brother, yeah. But anyway, that's our story for today. Yes, he was black, Cameron. You think I was gonna spend my time arguing with a colonizer about what? No. But I was appreciative to have that struggle in the group chat, because let me tell y'all, like at H&M, the H&M that I work at, is all of the employees, the store employees, are African. And there's only one white girl working there, and the store manager that's over everybody is some gay white man.
I mean, that's the reality.
It's to be expected, yeah. But anyway, y'all, welcome to the Revolutionary Book Trap. I just wanted to tell y'all that story and everything like that. So as y'all get, black and gay, no, he's white and gay. He's a white gay man. Girl, I had to give him so much fever. I'm just like, when he was introducing himself to the team, I was just sitting there looking like...
Colonizer.
And he be trying to speak to me, and I just be like,
what do you want?
okay, y'all, let's go. So today we have come to the end of How Europe Underdeveloped Africa by Comrade Walter Rodney. What hasn't this been a journey, Comrade Nyah?
Man, yes, a necessary one.
Yes,
yeah, it took us a while to get through this, but it was necessary.
It was good. Did y'all enjoy it? Did y'all, cause I know who been reading. I know who been reading. But did y'all enjoy it? It was really, really, really pretty good. Mm-hmm. All right, y'all. So y'all know we also here for another reason right now. The Atlanta unit. We are preparing for our Lyrics and Ladles open mic series, which is a month and 11 days away. Today is the 1st of March. So on April 11th, right here in Atlanta, Georgia, at the Black Dot Cultural Center, where Black Hammer made its debut. We going back to where, where it all began. So we're going to be kicking off the Lyrics and Ladles open mic series, and this is a cultural event that the Atlanta unit is establishing here in the city. Not only to give, our brothers and sisters who make music, who recite poetry, who dance, who rap, who sing, a platform to, expose their talent, but we're also going to be doing this to raise resources and to acquire food items so we can also put on our homeless food drives here in the city of Atlanta as well, too. So because of you, we have already secured the venue. We already put down the down payment for that. We've also been able to print flyers to do outreach with. Shout out to the comrades. We did outreach on yesterday. And so now we're just raising money. We have to raise the rest of the money to secure the venue, to completely secure the venue. We have to raise the rest of the money to get the food budget and everything together. Mm-hmm. And yeah, Comrade Angelica has confirmed 9 artists to perform at the event. I'm also in talks with DJ Kiko, which is somebody Comrade Ghazi and I met here in Atlanta, who has expressed interest in DJing there. Oh wow, Kiko is great. Yeah, that brother has a whole plethora of music that is just beautiful. So right now we are still raising resources to make sure this event is just the best event, period. So this morning, Comrade Nyah and I, we have a goal of raising $100 to go toward the event. So you already know how this goes. You can donate through our Cash App, and that's Black Hammer ATL. Black Hammer is spelled out. Then you have do you call it initials or the acronym? The acronym ATL. So you can donate. You can donate through our Cash App. And yeah, this event is just going to be so powerful, so profound, and just we have to make it happen. So again, you can donate directly through our Cash App, or you can make a pledge by putting it in the comments, letting us know the amount that you want to pledge if you can't donate today, and the date that you will be able to donate, so that way we can hit you up, we can call you, and we can get it collected, and yeah, we can raise these resources to make sure this event happens, y'all. We cannot, everything that we've been able to do from all of the food drives that we've done here thus far, even the food, not only here in Atlanta, but all everywhere we have units right now, where we've done the East Coast, who's done the food drive. They did a coat drive. We just had a defense, Orlando. We just had a defense class in California, and we're building a chapter in Nigeria right now because of the support that we've garnered from you, the people who have supported Black Hammer up until this point right now, and who continue to support us. So we got a goal of raising $100 this morning, y'all. We got to be able to feed our people who attend this event, and we just want to, you deserve the best. You deserve to make sure that you come into an event that is put on professionally, that is, welcoming the atmosphere, just an atmosphere of unity and fellowship. And we want to be able to produce that for you. So we got to make sure we raise these resources. So again, donate through our Cash App, Black Hammer ATL, or you can make a pledge in the comments. And again, any member of the Atlanta unit will follow up with you to make sure that we get those donations in.
That's right.
You excited, comrade?
I'm excited because I just think that colonized people, I think Black people and colonized people, we just have the best culture to share with each other, and I feel like that's one of the many reasons why we've survived.
Yeah. And I mean, like, y'all, we just had a little jam out session just now.
We did.
We was playing like some really good music, and like, that is so true that, our culture plays a major part in, getting us through on like the daily basis, like, just being, oppressed and, being colonized individuals here in America and all around the world. Like, if we didn't have some semblance of culture, of some type of outlet, creative outlet to just pour ourselves into, like, yeah.
It's a beautiful thing.
It is. It's a very beautiful thing. That's why Lyrics and Lados has to be a successful event.
And it will be.
It is. Give me some. All right, y'all. So let's go ahead and get into it. So we are finishing up the last chapter of How Europe Underdeveloped Africa. And right now we are starting at the subtitle. Hold on, let me get to it real quick. Education for Underdevelopment. Ooh, Black Power! Chief Ghazi just donated $20. Black Power. So that means we only have $80 more to raise, y'all. Let's go ahead and do it. It's 20 people watching right now. So that's what? What is that?
$20 each.
$20 each. What's up?
No. Wait a minute. It's 20 people.
Don't ask
$4
me.
each.
That's $4
$4
each.
each.
$4 each, y'all, and we will have completed our goal of $100. Thank you so much, Chief Ghazi. We love you. All right, so we're starting at the subtitle, Education for Underdevelopment. And, throughout this whole, process, we've mentioned, how education is a part of...
another $25.
Black Power.
That's from Dearest Andrews, Black Power comrade.
Black Power, thank you, comrade. And he's a member of the Pet Command.
That's what's up.
Excuse me. So, y'all, we've talked about education, the colonial education system, throughout doing this, throughout this whole book. And so now Comrade Walter Rodney has dedicated this whole portion of just speaking to how the education system, not only in Africa, but we even see it now in present day, how the colonial education system has went to the underdevelopment of colonized people in general all around the world. Literally all around the world. We only got $55 left to raise, y'all. 55. So, yeah, and like we mentioned earlier, education is a component of the superstructure. And that is for any type of society. Even for a communist society, education is a part of the superstructure. So even with that understanding, for the past 600 years, colonized people have known nothing but, Black
Power, Robert.
So that means we only have $45 left to raise. Y'all making me cheese.
It's the community coming through.
Okay, so but the education system is used to just like religion, the judicial system, all of that is used to reinforce, the society that we are living in. And this is how Comrade Walter speaks to it right here. He says, education is crucial in any type of society for the preservation of the lives of its members and the maintenance of the social structure. Under certain circumstances, education also promotes social change. The greater portion of that education is informal, being acquired by the young from the example and behavior of elders in the society. So you can begin, even with that summation right there, you can begin to understand, just like the predicament that colonized people have been in for the past 600 years. And you have, the white bourgeoisie, which is the dominant society that we live under as colonized people. So that even just goes to say to how, every contradiction that we experience as colonized people is felt under this society, under capitalism. So when he says the greater portion of that education is informal, being acquired by the young from the example and behavior of elders in the society, in this case, it's the white bourgeoisie who is setting the example for colonized people. And a lot of these contradictions that we see within, the colonized nations are mirrored. We're mirroring the contradictions that we see within the dominant society, which was, the white bourgeoisie, in terms of the oppression of women, the oppression of, GSNA people, and, all this plethora of contradictions that we see. And he also goes, okay, so now with that understanding, you have to think about, okay, so if we're talking about Africa under colonialism, how was education pre-colonial Africa? What was that like before, the Europeans invaded Africa?
Yeah, and I appreciated him breaking that down because what he said was that, pre-colonial education, it had to do with the practicality and how they, I'm
sorry, y'all, my daddy keep calling me.
You need to call him back.
I'm gonna call him back.
I can't do that. Yeah. Under normal circumstances, education grows out of the environment. The learning process being directly related to the pattern of work in the society. Among the Bemba of what was then northern Rhodesia, children by the age of 6 could name 50 to 60 species of tree plants without hesitation, but they knew very little about ornamental flowers. The explanation is simply that knowledge of the trees was a necessity in the environment of cut and burn agriculture in a situation where numerous households' needs were met by tree products. So it was a practicality. They used the trees, whereas they didn't really need to know so much about the flowers. And that's what their education encompassed. And what we're talking about now, like what you were just mentioning, the colonial education that was put in place in African societies, it served to build the colonial superstructure.
Exactly.
Just like us here, in even the Africans that are in the U.S., we're working for these big ass companies, and that's doing nothing for the African population at large. We're not even able to send money back in a lot of cases if we had distant relatives in Africa for those who come here, because of the gauges in what it equates to there.
Exactly.
And it doesn't go nearly as far. The prices of food and things like that. So I really appreciated him breaking that down, in that
you just made another point that I saw a post on Instagram, how America is moving in the Dominican Republic. And some years ago, I believe in the 1960s, the American dollar in, I can't remember the name of the currency in the Dominican Republic, but they, at one point in time, they equaled the same. A dollar there was worth the same in the Dominican Republic. And then, as the presence of the imperialists in the Dominican Republic increased, the value of their money decreased to the point that a dollar here in America was worth maybe $50 in the Dominican Republic. And I mean, that just popped up in my head just now when you mentioned that.
Yeah, so I definitely appreciate his breakdown on that, and just kind of noticing that these education superstructures that were there weren't in the benefit of the people of the land.
And then also where he goes, and this is why we struggle. This is why we struggle when we say like we need control of the educational system wherever colonized people are, located. And just like recently, and I mean like this story is not like it's not surprising because we've seen it happen before. But like in the news, I want to say almost 2 weeks ago, there was this young 6-year-old African baby girl who was handcuffed by the motherfucking pigs, and they drove her from the school to the police precinct only to call her parents. They handcuffed this 6-year-old child who was having a tantrum and took her to the police precinct to call her parents.
I'd have been,
And I had to I had to jump into some comments on some statuses that was being posted on my Facebook, because it was this African sister that I know who was defending the pig, who was saying like, we don't send our kids to school to act up and misbehave and all of this kind of stuff like that. And I had to tell her like, it is no way in fucking hell. I don't care if this 6-year-old baby girl took her pants off, stood on her desk, and pissed all over the place. There is no way for you to sit here and try to rationalize a motherfucking pig handcuffing a 6-year-old child. It's no way. I mean, like, you cannot rationalize that at all. You just can't. You can't rationalize that. And then we're talking about this taking place in like, I believe it was I think it was in South Carolina, if I'm not mistaken. But it just it's always young African children and colonized children under this colonial education system that has to be made examples have to be made out of to our other children, to let them know if there's any type of rebellion or anything else like that, this is what can happen to you.
Right.
And the reality is that Brittany, a little Bobby, can curse, slap, scratch, do whatever to the teachers, and nothing happens to them. Nothing happens to them.
They go home and bring guns to school.
And then shoot people and shoot and kill people in the school. But our babies are handcuffed and drove into the pig precinct. And then you only take her there to call her fucking parents?
Yeah. And then teachers do it too. They abuse our children. They punch and kick, and happens on camera. They keep their fucking jobs.
We're gonna move it. But y'all, like, we only got $45 left to raise for our goal. Shout out to Lyrics and Lados open mic series. April 11th is going down Saturday, 7 p.m. Black Dog Cultural Center. Hit us up on the Black Hammer Facebook page. Check out the event page. All of the information is there. Check it out. Share the links. If you can, donate today. Make a pledge. Put into the comments how much you want to donate and the date that you want to donate it by, so we can call you and be like, hey, you remember when you said you was going to do, when you was going to give this much right here? We need that. But I think this is why we have to have education that is tailored to colonized people. And I think Walter Rodney makes this point very clear when he says, indeed, the most crucial aspect of pre-colonial African education was its relevance to Africans, in sharp contrast with what was later introduced. The following features of indigenous African education can be considered outstanding. Its close links with social life, both in a material and spiritual sense. its collective nature, its many-sidedness, and its progressive development. Listen to this. In its progressive development in conformity with the successive stages of physical, emotional, and mental development of the child. There was no separation of education and productive activity or any division between manual and intellectual education. Altogether, through many informal means, pre-colonial African education matched the realities of pre-colonial African society and produced well-rounded personalities to fit into that society. That is what we as colonized people need. This is what we need. This is what we need. And it says, what did he say? To match the realities of the pre-colonial African society. So being that we live in a capitalist, imperialist society, you better understand that the education that we're receiving right now is only going to be able to match the realities of this oppressive, colonialist-ass, imperialist-ass society. This is why we have to have black community, colonized community control of our schools.
Absolutely. It's not even a question, because as long as, that's why you see so many African and colonized people who have this erroneous sense of loyalty to the U.S. or whatever other westernized society that they live in, because they have this, they don't understand, but it's just like a false sense of patronage. And it's really just like, you will never be able to have a true connection with your identity and to your people.
Right.
You are totally fragmented from that.
Exactly.
And what you just said is spot on. We have to have those types of, whether we started off in co-ops or whatnot, we have to educate our children, and the curriculum can't mimic that of the colonial school system. It must be that which has our information about African people or information about indigenous people. Those are the types of school settings we must set up for our children.
And like, excuse me, like the colonial education system that Walter Rodney is referring to in Africa right now is the same educational system that we grew up in, that our parents grew up in, our grandparents, and like, if we don't do anything about it now, this is the same educational system that's going to educate our children.
Yes.
And he makes another point. And like, this is how you know that the educational system has not changed. It has not changed at all. And he says, the main purpose of the colonial school system was to train Africans to help man the local administration at the lowest ranks and to stall the private capitalist firms owned by Europeans. In effect, that meant selecting a few Africans to participate in the domination and exploitation of the continent as a whole. It was not an educational system that grew out of the African environment, or one that was designed to promote the most rational use of material and social resources. It was not an educational system designed to give young people confidence and pride as members of African societies, but one which sought to instill a sense of deference towards all that was European and capitalist. Education in Europe was dominated by the capitalist class. The same class bias was automatically transferred to Africa, and to make matters worse, the racism and cultural boastfulness harbored by capitalism was also included in the package of colonial education. Colonial schooling was education for subordination, exploitation, the creation of mental confusion, and the development of underdevelopment. Period. And nothing has changed. Nothing has changed.
Nothing at all.
Oh, Lord.
And I really appreciate that, because again, we're looking at the fact that most African people are working for some corporation, whether you're in a westernized or you're still in our native land. You are working for the colonizer in some capacity. And these, even when you're going to get a secondary education, post-secondary education, how many times are we able to start up, even when you're going into business, you're so inundated with taxes and things of that sort, you can't do anything for your people.
No.
And then even when you become a billionaire like Jay-Z, what do you do to really bring the African population out of homelessness? You go and belittle them and talk about how we have to move forward so that your endorsements don't get cut. So it's not even in your interest to do anything for the community then, because you're still a puppet, you're still a slave. So yeah, I really appreciate him laying that out.
All right, y'all. We only got $45 left to raise for the Lyrics and Lados open mic series for this show. We had a goal of $100, so right now I think we're at $55. So we only got $45 left to raise. Comrade Nyah, we got 16 people watching right now. How much?
So it's $45.
I'm horrible at math.
I'm not really well. That's kind of an uneven figure, but basically, if everybody gives $5 each, we would definitely surpass that.
Oh, $5, y'all. $5.
If everybody on here can get $5.
And if you can't donate it, if you can't donate your $5 today, make a pledge to donate $5 at a later date. Or find your friends and family who like going to open mics, who support poetry, rappers and singers and stuff like that. Let them know what we got going on and ask them to donate. You know, it's so many different ways that we can get to this goal, y'all. So,
and we can do it ourselves.
Yes, we can do it. Plenty of time.
I want to read something that Comrade Gallo just put. He said, I see teachers traumatize and confuse the fuck out of children all the time, teaching them backwards ideas of conformity and subordination to authority. And I know that Comrade Gallo works in education. So even those of us who've done that or have been in there, we see that those types of societies that are supposed to be, even like when I know we've talked about this before, when we're sending our children to these predominantly white schools and we're thinking they're getting a better education and they're going to be better off. Well, they may be able to go as far as colonialism is going to allow them to go, and that's only in certain situations, because there's lots of these programs that don't do anything for our people. But even in that situation, you're not doing anything but furthering them from the rest of the culture. And I made a note. We're not there yet, but when we get there, I made a note even about something about syntax and language. And
well, let's go ahead and get there, because child, this portion is long. But I also wanted to say, just like you were saying, like, it's not even a secret, but you know, most of these dominant like white schools, they get like tax breaks for having a certain percentage of colonized people in their schools. And then also they have, you know, colonized students in this school who solely for the purpose of improving their testing scores, because you know, like you have all of these various tests that students have to go through, you know, at certain periods of the year. And if that school is not scoring in a certain percentage, the budget for the next school year is going to be cut. And if you're talking about a capitalist society, you already know that the education system is based in capitalism as well too. So these teachers, these school administrators, officials or whatever, they're going to do whatever has to be done to make sure that they can get the same budget that they motherfucking, you know, like whatever. So like it all works hand in hand. But before we move on to the last, because it's a very important portion of this part of the chapter I really want to get to. But you want to talk about the language that you was on?
You go ahead.
Okay.
You go ahead. I'm
on. He speaks about capitalist individualism, and I'm gonna just have to read it, because in capitalism, everything is focused solely on the individual. Absolutely. On the individual. And with colonialism came with the coming of capitalism was when communal societies in Africa and all of these different individuals, this is when like our communal practices was pretty much snatched away from us. So he says, in the final analysis, perhaps the most important principle of colonial education was that of capitalist individualism. Like many aspects of the superstructure of beliefs in a society, it had both its negative and positive sides viewed historically. The European bourgeoisie were progressive when they defended the individual from the excessive control of the father in the family and against the collective regulations of the church and feudal society. So even then, he's talking about, you know, these Europeans fighting the contradictions in their own society. So that is the only some semblance of good that can even come out of there when you have to fight the own oppressive forces in your own goddamn society. Okay, so then he says, however, the capitalist system then went on to champion and protect the rights of the individual property owners against the rights of the mass of exploited workers and peasants. When capitalism had its impact on Africa in the colonial period, the idea of individualism was already in its reactionary phase. It was no longer serving to liberate the majority, but rather to enslave the majority for the benefit of a few. When individualism was applied to the land, it meant that the notions of private ownership and the transfer of land through sale became prevalent in some parts of the continent. Much more widespread was the new understanding that individual labor should benefit the person concerned and not some wider collective, such as the clan or ethnic group. Thus, the practice of collective labor and egalitarian social distribution gave way to accumulative tendencies. Superficially, it appeared that individualism brought progress. Some individuals owned large coffee, cocoa, or cotton shambas, and others rose to some prominence in the colonial administration through education. As individuals, they had improved their lot, and they became models of achievement within the society. Any model of achievement is an educational model, which directs the thoughts and actions of young and old in the society. The model of personal achievement under colonialism was really a model of the falling apart in the underdevelopment of African society taken as a whole. It is a common myth within capitalist thought that the individual through drive and hard work can become a capitalist. In the United States, it is usual to refer to an individual like John D. Rockefeller Sr. as someone who rose from rags to riches. To complete the moral of the Rockefeller success story, it would be necessary to fill in the details on how the millions of people who had to be exploited in order for one man to become a multi-millionaire. The acquisition of wealth is not due to hard work alone, or the Africans working as slaves in America and the West Indies would have been the wealthiest group in the goddamn world. The individualism or the capitalist must be seen against the hard and unrewarded work of the masses.
I think it was Rockefeller's son or somebody. He just died a few years ago. You know, he got like 6 heart transplants in his life. He was 99 when he got the last one. If I'm thinking of the same rich cracker, I think it was him. And I'm going to tell you, as somebody who works in healthcare, it is hard to come across an organ that's needed. And especially when the majority of people who need like chronic treatment for that type of thing tend to be colonized people. Okay. And they sit on the wait list for a kidney or a heart or a liver for years. Many of them die waiting for it. And this cracker, I'm sorry, at 99.
Girl, ain't no motherfucker sorry.
This rich,
call that rich motherfucking cracker. That rich cracker
got a heart transplant at goddamn 99. And I can also tell you that there are certain conditions with age, you have more health conditions. Everybody knows that. So as you get up there in age, it gets harder to get approved to get an organ. So for him to get one at 99, he had antibodies in his system that made it harder for that to even take. And I think he only lived, I think he died. He lived like maybe 6 months to a year after that. So that was a total waste of an organ to go into that old, rich cracker. And I'm sorry, I'm not sorry, but when we read about that, I just thought about the fact that if you're telling me that money cannot buy you the best health care or whatnot,
it can buy you 6 hearts. And you better believe, there should be no goddamn shadow of doubt in your mind to know where those 6 hearts came from. Out of the bodies of colonized people.
When they're finding Africans rolled up in gym mats with their organs taken out.
Come on, Naya.
Out in the desert with their tongues cut out. Stuff with newspaper. Where the fuck you think they're getting them from? And this isn't a conspiracy theory because, I have a colonial education. But I'm telling you that they're finding African people out in the middle of nowhere, taken out with their organs. You cannot tell me that they're not getting these organs from.
You know, I gotta go change the classification on my license.
I took that shit off about 5 years ago. I used to not believe it. Then I said, nah.
I've got to.
I took it off. Because if I want to give an organ to somebody, I want to be able, I can still tell them, you can give my whatchamacallits or whatever, or I can have, Tiffany do it or whatever. But no, I took that shit off. Because it's not a game out here.
No, it is not.
You are a fucking commodity.
All right, Black Power comrades, trappers, everybody that's watching right now. So y'all know we raising money for the Lyrics and Ladles open mic series. Right now, we only have a goal. Well, we have to complete our morning goal of $100. All we need to raise is $45 more. So if you're watching right now, please go to Cash App and donate at $Black Hammer ATL. Black Hammer is all spelled out. Then ATL. Donate $5, $3, $2, whatever you have to donate. We will definitely appreciate it, and it will be put to use. Okay, the Lyrics and Ladles open mic series is going to be an event that is hosted right here in Atlanta by the Black Hammer Atlanta unit. We plan to do this event bi-monthly, and what we want to focus on of course, is showcasing the local talent of our brothers and sisters located right here in the community. But we're also going to be using the resources that are made at this event to put on our homeless food drive. So that way, it's pretty much like building our own food bank. So that way, when we have, this Lyrics and Ladles open mic series happening like every other month, we won't have to continue, and not to say that it's a bad thing, because you should be able, you have to be activated to participate in, in carrying out your interest in your own community. And as revolutionaries, we have to provide you with an opportunity to do so. But with this event, we can have our own food bank, so we can say maybe a week now, or every week, we can have these food drives on a continuous basis, because we have a component here within Atlanta that is continuously bringing food, bringing resources into the unit, so we can just put on a homeless food drive whenever we want to. And so that's the science, that is the practice that is going into having Lyrics and Ladles as an open mic series. So support that. We need you to support that. And you know what? I'm going to go ahead and make a pledge. I'm going to pledge $20. And what's Friday? What's the date for Friday after next?
Oh, 2 weeks from this past Friday?
Yeah.
Because that's when I get paid again, too.
Yeah.
So, what was it? It was the 28th. It's a new month. So, shit.
It would be like
It's mid-March. But I'll pledge $20.
Okay.
So, we got 40.
All we need is $5. We got Rod who says I got 5 on it. Black Power.
That's what's up.
So that was
we made our goal.
We made our goal. Let's keep it going. Well, we got like 10 more minutes left in the show. Let's see what else we can get. Let's go to 130. Let's go to 150. What's up? Who else got 5 on it? Who can match my 20, our comrade Naya's 20, our Rise 5, our comrade Ghazi's 20? Who can match it?
Yep.
Who can match it?
Even if you can't do it today, just like we talked about. Your overview on the individualism was spot on. There was this paragraph right after that I wanted to go into where it talked about how it's different in the way the individual aspect played out in Africa and then how it played out in Europe. And he talks about, he said in the latter it could be said that on the rise of the bourgeois class indirectly benefited the working class through promoting technology and raising the standard of living. But in Africa, colonialism did not bring those benefits. It merely intensified the rate of exploitation of African labor and continued to export the surplus. So when we see it's here, it's everywhere. But on the continent where we see our brothers and sisters competing with one another, that is where that mindset comes from. Because, I mean, they are literally scrapping and saving to survive, to fucking eat every day. And, of course, they get paid a little of nothing. They're talking about, Europeans that work in Africa get, I think it's shillings that they get. They get that 100 shillings like in a hour's time, whereas the African people that do those same skills get it in a month's time. And so that individual is pushed out there because they have to compete each other. They have to fight against one another. And when we were talking about tribalism and the things that we said, it kind of goes into that. The borders and everything, the nationalism that we see among, competing with each other. I thought about that. And it says in Europe, individualism led to entrepreneurship and adventurism of the type which spearheaded Europe's conquest of the rest of the world. In Africa, both the formal school system and the informal value of colonialism destroyed social solidarity and promoted the worst form of alienated individualism without social responsibility. And it goes into, even after that, he talks about how they're still scrambling to see if there's gonna be these education systems there, if they're going to have to put schools in these places, because the people were we need schools, we need job skills, we need to be able to work so we can feed our families. France and other parts of Europe were basically trying to figure out what was going to benefit them. If we put this school here, we need to make sure it's going to be a school where they're going to be able to produce these skills so that we can benefit. It wasn't so that you can build your own societies or so you can build your own practical needs out of these schools. We want you to serve our needs.
Right.
So they were basically, when they did that, and then the people of the land still had to pay the taxes. They had to pay the tuition. They still had to pay everything to even support the infrastructure of the school being there. And it was just a competition for colonial interests. And I just thought, even in the sense where individualism and capitalism is supposed to be a system that works globally, it doesn't, except in this interest of the colonial, in the settler.
And then it's so fucking crazy because you watch all of these different presidential ads that's pretty much shitting on socialism, and not the type of socialism that this motherfucking caricature Bernie Sanders is talking about, because it's what is it? Cognitive dissonance. When you put Democrat and socialist in the same sentence. I mean, it's no way that these two it's no way that they can exist, because one can't be in existence if the other is there. So that whole motherfucking shit is just bullshit. It's bullshit. But just the fact that you see all of these motherfucking white bourgeois, people who are running for office to say that, well, socialism can't work because it hasn't worked in other countries and all this other kind of shit like that. When look at the ravages that capitalism has brought on this world for the past 600 years. The earth is literally dying. The earth is being destroyed. Colonized people are facing genocide every waking moment of our goddamn lives. And you want to say that socialism can't work?
I mean, and science supports otherwise.
And that's the thing, it's science. It's science. It is science, not some type of subjective. You know, it's always these motherfucking white bourgeois intelligentsia people who want to give these motherfucking subjective as, you know, they give it's subjective, but they pass it on as an objective, you know, what could you say, like observation of society and how things are working right now. But it's all pure subjectiveness to defend what the fuck capitalism is doing to this world, what it is doing to colonized people. You want to read some of the comments?
Yeah, Alex put a read that back up there. He said, new ideas that were incorporated in the capitalist metropoles never reached the colonies. In particular, the fantastic changes in science did not reach African classrooms, for there were few schools that were where science subjects were taught. And we know why that was, because as a matter of fact, they really appalled that idea, the Europeans. They really didn't want those types of schools coming to the African continent at all. They really just wanted to keep it in their interest. And there were like the French, they really abhorred that idea, because they were like, they wanted the African people there to really even identify with being French. They said, well, you know, you speak French, you are French, and the people there, they did it. They, for the most part, they did do it. Somewhere, I just, you know, but anything that has to do with scientifically setting a people up to take for empowerment or self-determination, that was frowned upon. That was something that the Europeans would not go for, because they needed the African to still have a dependent relationship on them for anything that they received. So they got literally crumbs, and he actually says that crumbs of the benefits of education. Even like when they were talking about the bottlenecking of people who were trying to go into schools, when you reached a certain like grade and you wanted to go on to further your education after that, it was so competitive that most Africans couldn't go. And it was something that I highlighted here, where somebody had talked about that. It's this person with sixth grade leaver in the Central African Federation wrote the following letter to a magazine in 1960. After I passed Standard 6, I spent a whole year at home because I could not get a place anywhere to further my education. At the beginning of this year, I went to look for work, but failed to get it again from January until now. If I had known that my education would have been useless, I would have told my father not to waste his money in educating me from the beginning to Standard 6. He would have used his practical skills just to survive. And, you know, that was the reality for so many Africans, that at the very base were just trying to make a better living for themselves and for their family. So, yeah, I appreciate that, Alex. And Alex says socialism never works, immediately gets ass beat by African socialists. Exactly.
All right, comrades. So this is the conclusion of what, our fourth book so far?
Yep. Fourth book.
So y'all want to know what we're reading next? You think they want to know what we're reading next?
Mm-hmm.
Y'all want to know what our next book in the canon is? Y'all want to know? Let me see some hearts if y'all want to know. I want to see some hearts if y'all trying to find out what we're reading next. Not from you, Nyah. No. We need some hearts from our trappers. Y'all ready for our next book? Can y'all? Okay, I see some hearts. We need to see some more, y'all. Like, it'd be hard for me and Nyah. We gotta get up early in the morning. You know, we gotta read throughout the week. We gotta put our notes together and shit like that. I gotta be brushing. I don't like to brush my teeth until like.
Crazy.
Let me stop. I just playing. Okay. So the next book we are getting ready to read is going to be War of the Flea. War of the Flea. And just like how Europe underdeveloped Africa, War of the Flea has been a literary piece, that, just pretty much transformed the way, the liberation movement, has moved up into this point. And War of the Flea is based on guerrilla warfare and, what that looks like and, like how it was used. In the many revolutions that we've seen, up until this point, like in Vietnam and, other indigenous places like that. So that's going to be our next book. And, we already got you. So if you're looking for the PDF, we got that. So that was the time for you to jump on in so you can read along with us, so you can have your hashtag read that back and all of that good stuff. Right, comrade?
That's right. I just to sum up this book, I just feel like it was such an important read for anybody. Like, I don't know if this book can be I don't want to say revamped, because I don't really want to touch it, because I think for somebody who reads a lot or whatever, this is a good, the way that Walter Rodney writes is the way he writes. Yeah. But for a child's education, because I really think this is necessary for the African child, specifically the African child. And I wish there was a way for this book to be written in a child's sense, so that a child can grasp this. Because obviously, as smart as my child is, I don't think me reading this to him is going to. I think it's.
But that's the task of our generations, of us, of revolutionaries right now. We have to work out the science of being able to, reduce this down to something that our children can understand. Because even your children, like your 3-year-old, 4-year-old, 5-year-old, we all have to be revolutionized. Like, we all have to be provided, political education, because political education is going to be the only form of resistance that you can equip your child with when they have to go into that goddamn hostile ass school. Absolutely. Where they're fed lies, where they're traumatized, where they are, so many people just forget and understand, like, African and colonized children aren't even allowed to be children.
They're not.
They're not even allowed to be children. Because it is no way that a 6-year-old can throw the average temper tantrum, might be falling out on the floor, kicking, crying, scratching, screaming. This is a child. This is a child. We live in a society where our children cannot even be children. They cannot even be children. And I think even, some teachers forget that. Like, our children aren't allowed to be children.
They're not.
And then it's permissible, it's acceptable for a police to throw our children out of desk, dunk them on their heads, handcuff them, stomp them, pepper spray them. All of that is okay.
Tase them.
But all of that is permissible under this society. I'm not comfortable with that. I hope you aren't comfortable with that. And this is why this
little child was doing a bio for Obama, and she asked what else to put, and I'm like, about that drone program? She looked it up and was like, damn, I hate Obama now. Yemen, that's where I'm from. Like, the real knowledge is kept from them. Exactly. Yeah, about Gallo, I was just talking to Dia last week. I had my son opted to write about.
How did they grade it?
I think he got a good grade. I haven't gotten it back yet, but we talked about the bombing, and we talked about the fact that he waited 2 years to respond to the Flint water crisis, and we talked about it, and then that was in his program. So I told him, That's something that we do have to do. If they're going to get a colonial education, we have to be willing to tell them the truth. We have to undo the lies, like Dia was just saying, that they're given. Because,
And you have to think, like, your child is going to spend 8 hours of every weekday away from you for the next 12 years of his or her life. And if you don't think...
Right. That
if you don't
indoctrinated?
Girl. And if you aren't doing the work to combat that each and every single day, I mean, it's
then everything you're doing now is in vain. Everything you're doing now is in vain, because we know that there's a reality that we will not be here forever.
No.
And we have to prepare the next generation to come and continue this work. So,
but we don't even want to have to do that. We don't even want to have to I mean, our children should read about, like Black Hammer in a history book after they are living in a liberated Africa or, wherever colonized in the indigenous places that, colonized people come from.
Exactly.
We should be part of the history books. We should be speaking about how Black Hammer and, other revolutionary organizations secured the revolutionary liberation bag for our children.
Those are your
veterans. Now,
those are your veterans. Not, you're not celebrating the U.S. Veterans Day. You're teaching your kids who our veterans are. What was it? I don't know if you heard about it, but somebody had posted something about what Obama said about Kwame Ture, that he was like, he mentioned him rambling or some shit like that. It made me just want to kick him in his goddamn teeth. Because I was just like, how dare you even allow, like, his name to come out of your mouth? Like, you bootlicking sellout coon nigga. Like, who are you to even speak on Kwame Ture? For you to even say, like, you would be able to comprise your thoughts to even wrap around what he would have said. It just makes me sick. But those are the types of things that you have to also tell your children about.
Right.
Like, these are lies. Like, they don't recognize our heroes on their birthdays.
Nope.
We have to do that. We have to remember the days that our heroes were born and the days that they died.
And then when you see on these t-shirts, like when they have like Marcus Garvey, Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, and then Obama.
Oh my God.
Those are not they are not the same. They are not the same at all. Like,
I saw some event that said from Malcolm to Obama. And they had Obama like with his hand up like this. You know the picture of Malcolm X is doing that, and then he's wearing glasses. It was in a hair store that I was in. No. I was like, what is that? It was some event.
And even if you watch if you watch the documentary that was released on Netflix about Malcolm X's death, even for what they spoke about on Malcolm on that documentary, you will see that if Malcolm X was still alive, there would be no Barack Obama. There would be no Barack Obama. No. And that's just the reality. So you can't even...
No, there wouldn't.
It's what is that?
It's an oxymoron.
Oxymoron. Like, it's not possible. It's just not. All right, y'all. All right, trappers. We're going to go ahead and get up out of here. But please make sure you hit us up to get the PDF for War of the Flea, so you can follow up with us next week. We jumping right into chapter 1. And remember, we're going to continue. We have an overall goal of $700 for the Lyrics and Ladles Open Mic Series next month in April, and we still got a little bit of ways to go. So please, even beyond this video, go to our Cash App, $BlackHammer, ATL, donate.
Yeah, because we can still collect the money even when we're not live.
Yes.
And we are a transparent organization, so
you already know what's up.
Money, you don't know.
You see. You already see. All right, trappers. Until next Sunday, Go have a drink. Go unwind. Go lay back and relax yourself. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday, y'all. Black power.
Black power.